Finding the right product to sell is by far the most crucial part of becoming an Amazon seller. Although most people get stuck in the research phase and understandably get frustrated because they're just not sure how to validate which products are heroes or zeros.
This is one of the most difficult parts of becoming a successful seller. And you certainly don't want to get it wrong, though it may seem like a more fun and attractive option to sell a product that aligns with your passion. It's not always the wisest choice. You need a certain level of faith in numbers when doing product research. And the best way to identify a winning idea is to begin with a blank slate, letting customer demand and the level of competition guide your brainstorming process. So before you go investing a ton of money into a product, it's important to reinforce your ideas with research tools like Jungle Scout that let you analyze and filter through data on Amazon.
Today, we're going to dive deep into Jungle Scout's product research tools, walking you through 5 advanced strategies to discover profitable opportunities. These tools give you access to Amazon's full catalog of best-selling products where you can view monthly sales, price, Amazon fees, net profit, ranking, and much more to help you make smarter decisions. So we encourage you to follow along with us and use these tools to begin generating a list of at least 5 to 10 product ideas. Then we'll show you later in this video how to begin narrowing down your list to find the best opportunity. So let's get started.
Amazon's catalog has millions of products to look through, but it's important to know the characteristics of winning products so that you can find a needle in the haystack. If you've seen our videos before, I'm sure you've heard us talk many times about our 2 sets of product attributes. The first is a list of basic criteria that your product idea must have to give it the highest possible chance of success.
So first, we want to find a product that has existing demand on Amazon. This is the key component of any good product idea. We need to figure out if people actually want this product and if they're already coming to Amazon to purchase it. The main metric that helps us determine demand on Amazon is sales, and we'll show you exactly how to figure this out when we jump into the product research.
Second, we want to have low competition by determining how many similar products exist and whether there's an opportunity in the market for a newcomer. The key metrics that highlight competition are the number of products and the number of quality reviews and ratings they have. Again, we'll show you exactly how to determine this.
Now, of course, we want our product to have good profit margins so that we can actually make money. So for every product that you're evaluating, think, can I source and ship this to Amazon for significantly less than it's selling for? Generally, you can consider the rule of thirds to help estimate this. So each product sale is broken up into 1/3 for fees, 1/3 in landed costs, and then 1/3 in profit for you. So for example, if the product sells for $30, you should expect to profit $10. This is also why we recommend finding products that are priced no lower than $20 to $30 to help cover the costs of selling on Amazon.
We also want the ability to improve the product. This will help increase our chances of generating more sales by finding ways to stand out from the competition. A good way of finding improvement ideas is by examining the reviews and the customer questions and answer section of existing product listings. What do customers like or dislike about your product idea? Considering all the factors including color, material, size, usability, functionality, and even packaging.
Lastly, there can be no legal issues such as licensing requirements or patent issues. Also consider if someone could get easily hurt or sick using your product. Try to avoid products with a greater chance of liabilities such as electronics or food products for the body and other obviously dangerous items like anything sharp or flammable.
These are the 5 most important characteristics of choosing winning products. Personally, I wouldn't consider launching any product that doesn't meet these 5 key elements. If your product idea does contain all these elements, you can now move on to the second list of attributes that are nice to have. This is a list of criteria that we prefer our products to have, but are not necessarily required.
So first of those is, we like products that are small and lightweight. On Amazon, these are called standard size products. Generally, these products will give you less headaches because they're easier to manage and you'll save money on oversized storage and shipping costs. To ensure your product idea is standard size, you can find a breakdown of the different sizes by searching for Amazon's product size tiers.
We also like products that are easy to source and ship. What we mean by this is that you should be able to easily find the product on Alibaba, global sources, or similar online directories. Then by using Fulfillment by Amazon, you simply send your products directly to Amazon's warehouses where they store and ship your products for you.
Ideally, we prefer to find products with low seasonality. We're after products to sell all throughout the year and not just during certain seasonal periods. Again, we'll show you this later in the video, exactly which metrics are helpful to gauge seasonality of certain products.
We also prefer products that are simple and durable. Try to stay away from fragile products that contain breakable glass or anything with a lot of moving parts, since they often result in a lot of unwanted returns and refunds.
Now, this last one may come as a surprise, but if possible, we prefer to find weird products. These are certain products that you wouldn't typically consider selling because they're just not things that you think about. Not too many people think of selling weird products, so as a result, there's gonna be lower competition.
Now that we've gone over what to look for in a winning product, we're gonna share with you 5 advanced strategies that you can use when doing product research. We even use some of these strategies to launch our own products under the Jungle Creations brand. And just within this past year, these products have combined for over $250,000 in sales. Now, while we can't guarantee you'll have the same success, we can guarantee that by making data-driven decisions, you'll be on the best possible route to success.
Now, with that being said, we're gonna be looking for products in 2 different areas. One is the product database, and second is Opportunity Finder. We're also gonna use the Chrome extension to further validate our product ideas. So let's now dive into the first tool that we're gonna be using, which is the product database. After logging into Jungle Scout, click on the magnifying glass, and underneath that, product database is the first thing that comes up. Essentially, how this works is almost all of the products on Amazon are loaded into this database, and we can search through and sort through all of them using these filters. So for example, we can narrow down to see just the products that are in certain categories, products that are standard size only, or products that have a certain price point, amount of sales, and even reviews. The best part is that we can do all of this in any of the available markets listed up here. So let's first start with choosing the categories that we want to search for products in. And really what we're going to do is actually deselect the categories that we don't want to sell in. So going back to our characteristics earlier of winning products, we mentioned looking for items that are easy to source and ship and are simple and durable. So we wouldn't want to sell anything related to technology, clothing, food, or even beauty products. We also talked about finding products that are small and lightweight, meaning we only want to see products that are in the standard size tier. However, we will go through one advanced strategy where we'll change this from standard to oversized, but for right now, these are the main settings that we'll be using to find product ideas. So coming down to the filters here, let's start by walking through the first strategy, finding products with high demand and low competition. If this is your first time selling on Amazon, I highly recommend you start here, as this strategy has again and again passed the test of time. To find products that have high demand, we can use the sales filter here to show us products that have a minimum of 500 sales. This means they're selling about 16 units or more per day. Next, we can find products with low competition by using the reviews filter over here to show us products that have a maximum of 100 reviews. The reason we use the number of reviews to gauge how competitive products are is because high reviews tend to equal a product that's been on Amazon quite a while and has a bunch of sales, which basically makes it harder to compete with. Now, because we want to find products that have good profit margins, one last thing that we're going to do here is to set our minimum price to $25. We discovered that a minimum price range of about $20 to $30 is enough to cover direct costs like Amazon's fees, costs of goods sold, and advertising costs. We're also going to set our maximum price here to $50, because any price higher than that, people are less likely to make an impulse purchase on a brand that they're not familiar with. So if you think about it, in the beginning, when your product has very little reviews, if your price is around $100, people are gonna be a little more cautious about purchasing your product. These right here are the basic filters for discovering products that have high demand and low competition. Let's now perform this search and see which product ideas we find. Yeah, so we have about 5,000 products right now. And when we go through this list, we can start to look at each product and refer back to our list of things that we want our product to have. We know it needs to be easy to source and ship, simple and durable, and other things like no legal issues and nothing seasonal. We're mainly just looking at the images now. So as we're scrolling down here, we can start to look for anything interesting. And whenever we find something that catches our eye, we can come over and click on this Amazon icon to open up the product listing. So we're now gonna try and find a couple of interesting ideas, and then we'll come back to dive a little bit deeper into those to see if any of them turn out to be good opportunities. All right, so first up, I'm going to display 100 results at a time so that we can view as many as we can before changing page. And let's start looking through these images. So I'm not a huge fan of hats. They often have a lot of variations. You can come across licensing issues. So if there was lots and lots of them, you could potentially even exclude that. You've got the opportunity to include or exclude keywords. So you could enter in hat if that was something that was repeatedly coming up and you didn't want, or maybe it's like a COVID related product that you don't want to be seeing. Some things I'm noticing, things like these source cups here. If we have a quick look at those, I like that they're very simple to make. I'm assuming though, as you see with this one, the price point is very low. So I don't like that. So again, I like simple products like this, but I don't like cheap products, as we mentioned earlier. And we'll just have a really quick look here. You just want to pick what you think is the top keyword. So I've just typed in source cups. And if we just look at this without even running the extension, you can kind of see that very low priced. These ones are plastic. The plastic ones are especially cheap. You've got some of these porcelain stackable ones, which are, the price point is a little bit better. So we could just run the extension here for an example. So you can see our opportunity score here is for high demand, high competition. Now, people often ask, what opportunity score should I go for? To give you a rule of thumb, I would look at least, 6 and higher. But what I do want to say is that I would never go off of the opportunity score alone. It's just it's a starting point, okay? So let's dive into the sales and the competition. Maybe we'll start with competition. And so that's judged off by reviews, which you can see here, 1,600, 16,000, 30,000. Very, very competitive as far as reviews. The average monthly sales is really high as well, but I think the competition here rules it out. And also you can see the average price of like $11. So I don't know what you're thinking, but I'm thinking we probably just rule this one out.
Yeah, it seems too much of a lower price. And like you said, the competition is just not gonna be worth it for us.
So as we go down here, large and thick cedar planks for grilling. Okay, I'm gonna check that one out. It's got a $28 price point. As it's a plank, that sounds like fairly simple, durable. So what do you think the main keyword is here that we should search for?
I think we go pretty broad here, and cedar planks for grilling seems like the main keyword.
Good thinking. So let's search for that. And so you can just look through the images, and the Jungle Scout extension will give you some information here below each listing. So you can either scroll down and just look through the page to begin with, or you can come up to the extension and now you're gonna get a really great snapshot all together. Let's check our 3 main characteristics. What do you think about this opportunity, Jake?
So it looks like an average price of $22. The first 8 or so price points seem pretty high, so I think the price checks out right there.
Yep, I agree. Yeah, the monthly sales are actually really, really great. The lowest ones here is 300, but the rest are all above 600 to 700. So that's really great. Then the third main characteristic, of course, is competition. Then when we look at that one, there's a couple of lower ones, but it looks like for the most part, there's some really steep competition here, as is reflected in the opportunity score. So I'm kind of thinking the competition's too high.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely too high of competition there.
Alrighty, so we'll just keep moving forward. Okay, so looking for something else that stands out. We've got picture frames, coffee mugs I think would be very competitive. Same with drinking glasses here. 18-pack pantry basket labels. Sounds like kind of a weird, interesting product. It sounds like something that would be simple to manufacture.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting that this sort of label type thing is $38, which is like a really good price point. So let's type in and search for the product as a whole. What do you think we should grab here, Jake?
Yeah, it looks like pantry baskets, labels, clips is really keyword stuffy. I bet the labels, clips is the very broad term, but if we want to narrow it down, maybe pantry label clips or?
Yeah, so you want to try to find the one of the best keywords. And if you're a little bit unsure, a really helpful thing is just to use Amazon's autofill. So for example, so do you think we start with pantry or label?
If you go label clips, maybe we'll recommend either pantry or baskets.
Yeah, so if we go label clips, and then if you just wait, you can kind of see what Amazon's recommending as kind of the top thing. So maybe for baskets?
Looks like baskets.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's exactly what we were looking for.
Awesome. I'm just going to look at the pictures for the top ones here. So real quick, we're seeing, okay, low reviews, low-ish, couple of high ones, couple of lower price points. Yeah. So let's run this extension and see what we can find about this opportunity as a whole. So Jake, what do you think about the price overall?
Again, yeah, I think very similar to the last idea. The price point here is just going to be a little too low. It looks like some people are selling these as a 50-pack. I'm seeing 8-pack even, and those are definitely below our price range of $20 to $30 as a minimum. So I would rule that out so far due to price.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. We can see that some are plastic, some are metal. I'm assuming the metal ones you can maybe charge a little bit more for, but for the most part, I don't know whether people would like need metal ones for a very specific reason. They probably just want the clips, and so I don't know whether they'd really care about it. So I feel like it could be hard to get that price up unless you're selling like 100 or a 200 pack, but then I don't know whether people would really want that, or at least we're not really seeing many examples of higher price points.
Yeah, I agree there.
And if we move over to sales, some of them are a little bit low, 140, 170. It looks like there's this one listing at the top here that's dominating 1,400 sales, and this one here at 400 and 600. So there is maybe a little bit of opportunity here to capture some sales. But overall though, average is 200, which may be a little bit low. If we look at competition, let's see. So we've got 1,000 here, 1,000 there, and then these ones are a little bit lower. Yeah, I guess I'd say that this does fit in with the opportunity score here of like a medium competition. My sort of feeling overall is that this one is a maybe. I'm not liking that price overall. I feel like maybe the demand could be okay. Maybe the competition levels could be okay, but I'm a little worried about getting that price up. What do you think overall?
I agree. I think if there's one thing we can budge on, it's competition or even demand, but price is one thing that if we're not going to be profitable, then I think this is going to be a very hard opportunity for us to sell. So
yeah, and also thinking like, could there be an opportunity to differentiate it? Offhand, I can't really think of any ways to do that. I mean, obviously you could look into it a little bit more, but probably not at this stage.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. I feel like the fidget toy era must be over at this point, fidget spinners. Let's keep going. All right, still just looking for simple, durable products that could be easy to make. So what's this? Burlap gift bags. That sounds pretty simple to make.
Yeah.
So let's take a look at these. They can be used for wedding favors, parties, etc. So there's a lot of uses. This price is a little bit low, but let's maybe check out the whole opportunity. So do you think maybe burlap gift bags or as a starting point?
Let's start there and see what we get.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll just skip the sponsored ones. We'll see what's ranking organically. So real quick, we're seeing 200, 2 to 3 or 400 reviews. Not too bad.
Looks like that's a little bit different product than what we're looking for.
Yeah, so let's bring up the extension and see everything overall. So let's look at our 3 characteristics yet again. What do you think of the price point that we're seeing here, Jake?
The average price is about $20. However, just looking at the first 8 or so products here, it still seems pretty low, underneath our $20 minimum. It looks like you can bundle it with more than, seeing a 25 here piece, and it's getting closer to our $20 range. So maybe if you bundled it with like 50 bags, even 100, if you're using these for weddings or other events, then perhaps you can get it up to that $20 to $30 minimum.
That's true. One thing I'm actually noticing, what's really handy inside of the extension, if you see anything that's not relevant, you can actually remove it. So I'm actually seeing these look like paper bags. This keyword's burlap, so obviously people are looking for burlap bags here. So this may not really need to be, we can maybe remove that one from our calculations. I'll just see if there's anything else that's kind of irrelevant. This one is fabric gift bags, which probably can remove that as well. When we do that, the price point's still about the same, but those were a couple of the lower price ones. So that's making me feel a little bit better about the price. And then, like you said, if you can bundle it with, there's maybe potential there to bump that up. Let's take a look at the demand next. So what are you thinking here?
Yeah, the opportunity score is giving us a medium demand, which seems pretty spot on considering the first couple listings there have under 200 monthly sales, but then looks like some of these down here have well into the 500. We have a 1200 unit there. So very medium demand, I would say, even borderline low.
Yeah, I wouldn't completely rule it out. It's lower than I'd like, but let's move on and look at the competition or the reviews. Now, as I'm looking through this, I know we set like 100 as our maximum, but for me, if it's like 1 to 2 or 300, I'm open to that. I'm not seeing any with 1,000 right at the top here, so sort of 200 to 300-ish. I'm not minding that too much. There's this one listing here with 1,500, so that's getting a little bit high. So overall, the competition is a little bit on the higher end, but I'm okay with that. Let's take a look at this one. Yeah, the one with the highest number of reviews is the one that's getting the highest number of sales. This is a little bit worrying as it looks like this one listing that dominates with the reviews is getting most of the sales here, quite likely because they're also very low priced. So that's a little bit of a worry, but I would kind of consider this one a maybe. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I would consider it maybe just due to the demand overall, the lower price point, but like you said, the competition is kind of right where we want it.
Yeah, so leave this on the maybe list to, the next step from here would be to kind of dive deeper into, is there anything you can improve, or can you bundle it with something? Can you get the price point up? Those sorts of things. But for now, based off of those 3 things, we'll call that a maybe. So although we're pretty early in our research, I think we're gonna take this idea and move on to the next step in the process, which is adding it to the product tracker. We'll talk more about the product tracker later when it comes to narrowing down your list of product ideas. But right now, let's just add the top 10 or so products right here from the extension.
Hey, are you enjoying this and getting value so far? If so, let us know by hitting that like button down below. Perfect. So that's just one way that you can use the product database and Chrome extension to find interesting products that have high demand and low competition. However, there's another way that you can look for similar opportunities, and that's with the Opportunity Finder. Opportunity Finder is very similar to the product database, although this time we're no longer looking at products. Instead, we're looking at product niches. So If you remember from the product database, there's a bunch of individual products listed, whereas here on the Opportunity Finder, all these are going to be niches or opportunities as a whole. So let's go ahead and select all the same categories that we selected earlier. Once we do that, you'll notice the filters here are a little bit different from the product database, although we still have units sold and price. Because we're still looking for products with high demand and low competition, let's add our minimum units sold to 500 and our price range to 25 to 50. Additionally, we can also use this niche score filter, which is very similar to the opportunity score, as it grades each opportunity on a scale of 1 to 10 based on the demand, competition, and the quality of the listings. We'll leave this empty because right below that, we have a competition slider. This is essentially replacing our maximum reviews filter, and we'll go ahead and set it to very low to low. Next to that, we have a seasonality filter, which we again want to set to very low to low. Let's go ahead and run this search now and see what opportunities we find. As you can see, we're no longer looking at individual products, but instead niches as a whole. This time when we click the Amazon icon, it brings us directly to a search results page for this niche. This saves us from having to find and search for the product's main keywords. We're also able to expand each of these rows to view a ton of relevant data, such as units sold, price, search volume, and seasonality. What's cool about this data is it goes as far back as 2 years, which gives you insight into how the niche is trending and evolving over time. You can also see the top products within this niche, and just like the product database, it has all the same information listed here. Let's try to find a few opportunities now. Just like the last example, as we're scrolling down this list, we're mainly focusing on the names of the niches to determine if they fit within the types of products we're looking for. As you look through this list, just keep in mind that you will encounter some things that you won't be able to sell, such as certain brands, part numbers, or things of that nature. Just keep your eye out for the niches that you are familiar with or ones that look like an interesting opportunity. Okay, so we're just scrolling down here, looking for anything interesting. Some of these are, this one actually might be interesting. Fly fans for table. All right, so let's click into it. And this is again where we can see the average units sold from the last 2 years, year, 6 month, or even 3 months. You can see the average price. You can also see the search volume, seasonality, and then what the top products look like. And again, this is all the same information that you'd get out of the product database.
So I suppose one of my observations to begin with in terms of the units sold, it looks like they do sell, or they have sold a little bit better within perhaps this season. However, there are still some sales throughout the year. I guess it's like between October to January, it looks like there's around about 300 sales per month. And on average, it looks like February to June is the quietest time. So it's maybe a little bit lower than I'd like there.
Yeah.
It looks like during these months, sort of July, August, and October, around about this time, it's high in demand and then it gets a little bit lower. And I guess if we then check on seasonality, we can kind of see, it looks like it's around about the same months. It's the same trend here. So there is some seasonality here. This is telling us very low. We can go to search volume, which is another great way to determine seasonality too. And again, this is kind of backing up the same story. So it's nice that these different data points that we have are all kind of converging and telling us the same story. So I feel more confident that like, yep, this is the right narrative. And yeah, I guess let's like dive into the numbers here, because what I'm seeing is there is some seasonality here, which makes me a little bit nervous, but I think some of these numbers seem pretty good. So it might still be worth considering. What are you thinking here, Jake?
Yeah, definitely like the average monthly units sold, almost 1,000 monthly units sold. So it's definitely a ton of demand here. Looking at the price, about $30, which is right at the minimum.
That's great.
Yeah, it's a good price point. The search volume on just this term here, which seems pretty long tail, fly fans for table, is about 12,000 monthly searches for.
Wow.
Backing up our demand there. And the competition says very low, so I'd be interested to see kind of what this looks like on the search results page and bringing the extension to kind of verify that even further.
Yeah, all right. So let's jump ahead and do that. So
yeah,
if we want to do that from here, we'll just click on the Amazon button.
So these definitely look like the products that we saw in the top products.
Yeah.
For your table.
Okay.
Looking at the reviews, under 100, under 100.
That's good. There's one 1600 a little more competitive there, but the others are low.
Yeah.
These ones are all pretty low. Also noticing these 3 are 4 stars, which is a little bit low in terms of a star rating. As we're actually going to talk about later, can provide an opportunity to improve upon the product.
Yeah, and it seems like a lot of people are variating by 2-pack here. You see a 3-pack as well.
Oh, some of these are really low reviews. 8 reviews, no reviews maybe, 2, 13.
Yeah, I think this one would be interesting to bring in the Chrome extension.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, so this is a good start. We have our opportunity score here at a 7.
Ooh,
with
pretty decent.
Yeah, good, a high demand there, low competition.
That's exactly what we're after.
And so let's just verify that now. So like we said, the opportunity score, no matter how good or how bad, is just a starting point. And you always want to validate the numbers. And we're going to start here first with the price. And with the average price here at $32, that seems pretty spot on. Some of these are right around 30. Some of these are just under 20. But like we said earlier, you could vary these into a 1-pack, 2-pack, or 3-pack, it looks like.
Yeah, so I think price is a tick. I'm happy with that.
Yeah. Next is the sales. Monthly sales seem very high.
Yeah. That does look really high as well. Even if you scroll down the page, a little bit lower, but still, you know, still pretty good.
Yeah, I guess the last thing here to look for is the reviews and the amount of competition, which right away, there is one here with about 1,600 reviews, but using that as an outlier, it seems like the rest here are actually pretty low. We have 200 reviews, 16 reviews here. He's still selling over 1,000 monthly units.
Yep. Yeah, so one thing that I always mention is, again, see how it's distributed. So this one listing that has 1,600 reviews, if they're dominating all of the sales, and they are dominating a huge amount of the sales, however, what is promising for me is that even these other people with very low reviews are still getting like 1,000 sales or more. So it doesn't seem impossible for a new person to come in, and that's basically what I'm wanting to see. So I don't know what you're thinking, but overall, I feel like this is a good opportunity. I'm thinking that it's ticking the price point, sales, and for the most part reviews, or good enough for me.
Yeah.
The downside that we did see, then I think the biggest con with this one is perhaps the seasonality. But hovering, if we go back to those numbers, so it looks like in the low months, it hasn't stopped selling completely. It's sort of 60 to 100. So that is a little bit of a downside to this product, but I would definitely consider this one, seeing as those other attributes are like really good. So I think we add this one to the product tracker, just like we did with the last product, and then we can compare them both later.
Okay, great. Now you just saw us use both the product database as well as the opportunity finder to discover a few different product ideas with high demand and low competition. We mainly use these sales, reviews, and price filters to narrow down our list of opportunities. However, that's just one way that you can use these filters to help you find interesting product ideas. We're now going to give you 4 advanced ways that you can use filters to find additional product opportunities. Keep in mind that these are advanced strategies that might not be suitable for new sellers. But if you're looking to find interesting products in areas that most sellers aren't, hopefully this will spark some interesting ideas for you.
So the first advanced strategy is to find products that sell really well despite having poor ratings. The logic here is that there's products out there with horrible reviews, but are somehow still getting a ton of sales. So if we can identify what that product is and can easily get it manufactured, as long as we improve the product, we should be able to capitalize on that demand and sell it successfully. Now, to find these products, let's jump back into the product database and select the exact same categories and filters that we used earlier. However, this time, we're going to remove the maximum reviews, and instead, we're going to use the maximum rating filter. We'll enter 3.7 because on Amazon, that displays as a 3.5 star rating. So with these new filters in place, we're now only going to see a list of products that have a ton of sales despite having 3.5 star rating or lower.
The second advanced strategy is to find new products that are getting a ton of sales despite having a poor listing and relatively few reviews. Ultimately, this means that there's a lot of existing demand, so as long as we can improve the listing, we should be able to quickly begin ranking for the main keywords and capture sales. This is very similar to the last strategy, except this time we're removing the rating filter and instead using the listing quality score filter. The listing quality score is an in-house algorithm that determines the quality of listings based on the quality of the images, title, bullet points, and product description. This is on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being a poor quality listing and 10 being a high quality listing. For this, we'll use 4, but you can feel free to experiment with this number depending on how many products you want to view. Next, because we're trying to find new products only, we're going to utilize the date first available filter and select the last 90 days. This will show us products that have poor listings and a ton of sales, but have only been on Amazon for the past 3 months.
The third advanced strategy is to find products that have low costs and high profit margins. The way to do this is to keep the standard filters that we used earlier to discover products that are in high demand with low competition, except now we're going to use the net profit filter by entering in at least a minimum of $15. Because we're keeping our minimum price at $25, this means that even on the low end, we're still netting in $15 in profit. One thing to keep in mind is that the net profit calculation does not include the cost to manufacture the product, but by using a minimum net profit of at least $15, we're giving ourselves the best chance to find these profitable opportunities. So if you want to take this strategy one step further, after you find a product with high margins, you can search for that ASIN using Jungle Scout's supplier database to locate the supplier and ask for pricing information.
The last advanced strategy is to find products that are barely oversized. The idea here is to look for oversized products that we might be able to make a little bit smaller to avoid paying those oversized storage and shipping fees. You can usually make products smaller by getting it made with different materials, or even as simple as finding ways to minimize the packaging. Because of the higher fees, most people avoid selling oversized products, so there's typically low competition. However, because of the additional fees, your profit margins could also be low. If you think about it, for the products priced above $100, they might get away with selling oversized products while still having strong profit margins. But for the products that are priced between $25 and $50, the difference between oversized fees versus standard fees could be the difference between a low profit margin and a high profit margin. So let me show you how to look for products that are barely oversized. Again, we'll keep all the same filters we used before, except now we're going to remove the maximum reviews filter, and we're also going to change our product tier from standard to oversized. Now, to find products that are barely oversized, we're going to enter in a minimum and maximum weight. On Amazon, anything over 20 pounds is considered oversized. So for that reason, we're going to enter 21 pounds as the minimum, and let's go with 28 pounds as the maximum. Another thing I'm going to do here is select Amazon and FBA as the seller type. We do this because when you're FBM or fulfilled by merchant seller, technically Amazon doesn't weigh your products. But with Amazon and FBA, they actually do weigh your products, so that information will always be accurate. Now you can go ahead and search for products that are barely oversized and see if you can start thinking of any ways to make them a little bit smaller.
Now, if you didn't catch all of these strategies, then don't worry. We've actually created a cheat sheet for you, which you can download for free in the description below. In the sheet, you'll find all the filter sets that we used here today, as well as some bonus ones that we didn't get time to cover. So make sure to check it out and try some of these strategies for yourself.
All right, now that wraps up the 5 advanced product research strategies to help you discover profitable opportunities. Now, we recommend coming up with at least 5 to 10 product ideas before you begin narrowing down your list of opportunities to give yourself the best chance of finding a successful product idea. We're going to now wrap up the rest of this video by giving you some advice on how to narrow down your list of potential product ideas. Earlier, you saw us look at a few different types of products. We've now added those products to the product tracker. The best part of the product tracker is you can group your product ideas and analyze them all right next to each other right here on the overview section. You can also click on one of the groups to get an overview of just that one particular group and all the products inside of it. Right now, we're going to compare these groups against each other, so we'll do that inside the overview section. To begin narrowing down these opportunities to find just one, we'll go back to what we talked about earlier, which is the main product criteria. We'll want to look at the number of average sales to see which ones have the highest demand, and we'll also look at the number of reviews, average rating, and even the listing quality score to get a better sense of the competition. Lastly, we can start to compare these groups by their average price and the net profit to determine which one is the better opportunity.
Okay, so let's go through those top main criteria. So starting on the left here, if we compare all the prices, what are you thinking, Jake?
Yeah, just looking at this to start here, certainly all of these meet our $20 to $30 minimum price range that we want our products to be in. So that's great. And just seeing right away our last group here, the fly fans, are at $30. So that's great. And I'm sure, as we can see here in the following columns, that although we do have a higher average fee for our fly fans, our average net profit is actually going to be the highest here. And most likely that's because our price is higher than any of these over here. So
yeah, so I definitely think it's checking out there. And as you remember, the price is a good indicator of your profitability. It's not everything. You do need some other, you do need some other costs, like your product costs, but that is a good indicator, really healthy price. So now moving forward onto demand or average daily sales, let's take a look at this here. So we can definitely see the cedar grilling planks and the fly fans are in the lead by a reasonable amount. And the burlap gift bags, they're on the lower end, and the basket label clips are a little bit lower as well. If you take it from daily into monthly, that's about 300 sales per month for the gift bags, which isn't actually too bad. That's, we often use 300 per month as a minimum. So I would say these all do technically check out in terms of average daily sales. But at the same time, we've got a couple of clear winners here that are much higher than the others. Do you have any other thoughts to add?
Yeah, I agree on all that. And I think one more thing we can look at too is the revenue. So knowing that there's slightly different price ranges here for each of these groups, you can see that the cedar grilling planks do technically have the highest daily sales attached to them, with the fly fans slightly behind them. However, looking at the average revenue, you actually see the fly fans actually produce more per sale. So something else to look at there, you could go with daily sales as your demand. However, the revenue as well is also good to check because you are going to get more bang for your buck with the fans.
Yeah, that's a really great example of a listing that, while it has a few more sales, it doesn't have quite as much revenue. So yeah, I'd say that maybe the fly fans are a winner in this particular category. Then if we go on to our third main criteria, let's look at the competition or the reviews. And so this time we're wanting the number to be lower, of course. And I don't know what jumps out at you, but to me, I'm seeing that instantly the cedar grilling planks by far have the highest average competition. And remember, these numbers are averaging out all of these top listings over here. So yeah, that's a little bit of a red flag for me on the cedar grilling planks. I think for me, that's probably a little bit too high of competition.
I agree. If this was a little bit closer, if it was like 500, 600, it would be a lot harder to not go with the cedar grilling planks as an option here. But I think that rules out our cedar grilling planks so far, just in terms of the competition being way too high.
Yeah, so if we're kind of looking at our clear winners, we've got the basket label clips and the fly fans again, with probably like the lowest average reviews here. The burlap gift bags are starting to get a little bit high, and while I say we want low competition, there are instances where I'm okay with competing in a more competitive area, but if you're gonna go with more risk, you also want more reward. But in this case, the average daily sales is the lowest here. But if this was considerably higher, I don't know, if this was like 80 or 100 average daily sales and the reward was really high, then I might be willing to go with something that had a little bit more competition. But in this instance, if we're adding all of these things up, I'm probably leaning towards the fly fans here for the reason of they've got the lowest competition. They've got pretty much the highest daily sales, or certainly the highest revenue, and they've also got the highest price point, which is, you know, the higher the price, generally the higher your profit margin. So if I was like looking at all these factors, I'd probably be leaning towards the fly fans. What do you think, Jay?
I agree. I think there's so many wins here that we could attach to the fly fans. And if you're certainly looking at other ways that you could add to the fly fans being our best option here, I think you can further go down this list, look at even the average rating. So very incremental. However, the average rating here for the fly fans is slightly less than the average ratings of the other products. So you could look at that as an opportunity to improve the listing, and it's an even easier opportunity to compete against those listings that are already doing pretty well. So yeah, I say the fly fans right now are probably our best bet in terms of both the demand and the competition as well as the price.
Yeah, I totally agree with all that. And I think that we're quite lucky with these particular 4 products that we're looking at. As we went through that process, looking at the price, the sales, and the competition, I think we were fairly lucky in this instance that it was a fairly clear winner. It may not always be super clear. Again, you might have one product that has really great demand but higher competition, but then, you know, another one might have a even bigger profit margin or something like that, where it's a little harder to pick between the two. In our instance, I think we would both say that by far the fly fans are the clear winner. But keep in mind, we've only just been doing this product research very, very quickly for the purposes of this webinar. However, if you were doing product research yourself and you're at this stage where you're looking to pick a product, the next step here that I recommend would be to go to somewhere like Alibaba and then to contact suppliers for the particular product you're interested in and get specific quotes. You want specific product costs so that you can calculate your profitability. And I would say if you're not sure between a couple of these, they're really close, that's where I would get a specific product cost, and then that might help you determine which product you go with, the one that has the best profitability. And so hopefully by looking over our shoulder, this helps you get an idea of what we're looking for or what to think about when you're doing product research. All right, now we've packed as much information as we could into this video, but of course there's always a lot more small details to cover. If you're interested in taking it one step further and you benefit from having more personal guidance throughout this entire process, then I'd encourage you to check out our full course on the topic called Freedom Builder Bootcamp. Keep in mind, this video is under an hour of training, whereas the full course is over 20 hours of in-depth, step-by-step training on selling on Amazon and is led by 8-figure Amazon seller and CEO of Jungle Scout, Greg Mercer, and other team members from Jungle Scout. So if you feel that's something that would help you, then head over to freedombuilderbootcamp.com to learn more.